Um, we're going to a live virtual presentation next. And I would say we're returning to a recurring theme from this year's conference, which is the impact of the pandemic on real estate investment in the United States. Our speaker is Walter Schmidt. Walter is one of the founders of Rockwood Capital. He's also based in New York, but he was willing to get up early this morning. 2 years ago, he was here and he described a really interesting project that they had done, adaptive mixed-use project they had done in Brooklyn. And then last year, he described virtually a project which they did in LA. Those of you who were here last year will remember he was the only one who admitted that the pandemic had a negative impact on their investment strategy in all of 2020. And he walked us through how the pandemic had impacted their lease up of the project in LA. This year, he's going to walk us through an acquisition they made in suburban Boston in the midst of the pandemic. And I think you'll find it interesting to hear the various steps along the way from start to finish of what went on, bearing in mind, and this seems, I actually fact-checked myself last night as I was getting ready to come down this morning, because the closing of this transaction occurred when the U.S. was averaging over 200,000 new cases a day. And it's amazing to me where we are today to think that just at the end of last year, we were running over 200,000 cases, new cases a day. Walter, hopefully you can hear me there in New York, and we look forward to your presentation, and we'll have time for questions afterwards. Walter Schmidt from Rockwood. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brad. First thing I must check is that you hear me. Okay, great. Thank you.
We're good.
For the thumbs up. Okay. So thanks again for the privilege to present to you. We're very pleased that you have a conference that is dedicated to investing in the United States real estate market. And we're also glad to be back for a third presentation, as Brad described. I have to start with something off cue, and that is that the project in LA is stabilizing quite nicely. If you remember, Nike signed a lease there, and we are stabilizing quite nicely, even in this slow leasing market. So just a quick thumbnail on last year's presentation and update. But I've been asked to describe a transaction and how we navigated the markets over the last 18 months, which were quite interesting, as we all know. And we picked this particular acquisition in Boston, and we'll take you through the different phases of it so that you can see our thought process on how we navigate very difficult events that happen from time to time for all of us in the markets. So I will get right into it. And this is the overview of what we will describe today with a timeline. Clearly, we were identifying assets in 2019 according to our strategies. And in the early part of 2020, we were able to put a very high quality project under contract. Obviously, the market stopped in the March-April timeframe. We had the option to drop the contract, but because of the fundamentals that we liked, we decided to keep it as an option. We're able to, up till July, have it under contract with very little money as we studied what was going on in the markets overall. And then we decided that there was enough conviction to move forward because we were able to secure a price discount and ascertain the market opportunity as it existed, even during COVID, as Brad just alluded to, closing at the end of the year. So that's the overall example that we're going to go through. And now you might say, what on earth would make you do this? And why would you actually even figure out pricing and a project to do in the midst of the fury of the pandemic in 2020? So that's what we'll go over with you. And we hope that you can see some of the things we've seen through the process.